Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
Do you have a job opportunity you don't want to miss? But you need English. You need English for the job. You need English for the job interview. Get my book, Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native, free at effortlessenglishclub.com/7rules. Just enter your email anywhere on my website, effortlessenglishclub.com, and you will receive my entire book, the whole book, free. And that book teaches you the effortless English system so that you will learn to speak English fluently, powerfully, effortlessly, like a native speaker. Don't miss those job opportunities. Our topic today is English for managers. The 1 Minute Manager. We're starting our new book club. It's a business book called The 1 Minute Manager. I would call it a modern business classic, at least in the United States, meaning that it's been around a fairly long time. I think I first read it back in the 80s. So I think it was published in, I'd have to look, published in the 70s or 80s. But, that's pretty good. It's a pretty long time, 40 years or so. And it's just an excellent basic book on being a manager, right? Being a manager means you're a leader, a manager of other people. So you have a team, you have a group of people, and you're the boss. How do you do a good job? That can be hard. It can be difficult, right? A lot of times we don't have experience. We don't have training, right? Many people are promoted. They become managers, but they don't really have management skill, right? You're good at your job, so they make you a manager. Now you've got to manage other people. That's a totally new skill. It's totally different than just doing your job. So we're going to do the very first chapter of the book, and it's called The 1 Minute Manager. It's a very simple, a very great book for managers. And there are a lot of people who have international management jobs, right? Project managers. You're working with people from many countries and you need English, but you also need management skills. So let's learn. Let's just go right into the book now. The book is by Ken Blanchard, and I'm going to share my screen with you a little bit. Okay. There you go. You should be able to see my screen now. Ooh. Let me cover that camera. There we go. There we go. All right. How's that? Oh, a little light coming in there. All right. There we go. All right. Our first chapter is kind of an introduction, and it's called The Search. This whole book, it's a management book. It's a business book. One thing that makes it a little different, though, is that the style is... it's told like a story. So the story is that there's a young man, is the main character, and this young man, he wants to become a great manager. So he's searching, he's looking for great managers in the world so he can talk to them and ask them questions and get help. He says, please help me, right? He needs someone to teach him how to be a great manager. And then so that's the very simple story of the book. And then he goes and he meets a guy named the 1 Minute Manager. The guy doesn't have a name. It's just his title. The 1 Minute Manager teaches him how to be a great manager. And so, of course, while we read this story, we are learning how to be great managers ourselves, right? The whole point of the book is teaching us. So the first part is called The Search. So it says, there once was a bright young man, bright means intelligent, who was looking for a special kind of manager. A manager who could lead and manage in today's changing world. He wanted to work for such a manager, and he wanted to become such a manager. His search took him all over the world, to the far corners of the world, and he searched for many years. But he failed until finally one day he heard about this great manager nearby, and he went to see him. So during his search, he had a problem. He was not able to find a great manager. He found two different kinds of managers, but both were incomplete, right? Not good enough. So the first kind of manager, he saw many tough managers, tough, strong, right? Very tough. Maybe you've had a boss like this, right? And he's saying these kind of managers, the tough managers, their organizations seem to win, right? The companies would win, but the people working there lost. What does that mean? So he's saying that these tough managers, they were very tough to the employees. So, they made them work hard, work. So maybe they got a lot of work from the employees. So the company made money, right? He made the workers productive. This kind of tough manager makes the workers productive, makes them work hard. But what's the problem? The problem is the workers suffer. The workers are very unhappy. They're probably working too hard. They're working too much. Eventually they get burned out and maybe they leave, right? Or they just become very, very, very unhappy. So that's, the good part about a tough manager is that they get good results, at least for a while. But the negative part of a tough manager is the people on the team, right? The employees, the people that are under this boss, they suffer, and long term, sometimes the results get worse because the employees get burned out, they get exhausted, they leave, and lots of problems can come up. And then he's saying these kinds of managers, there's several ways we describe them in English. Sometimes they say, I'm a bottom line manager. That's a way to describe a tough manager. Bottom line. Bottom line means profit in business. This is a little bit of like an idiom. It's from accounting. The last line, it shows your profit. So a bottom line manager is a manager that's focused on profit. It's focused on the company making a profit. No, he doesn't care about the feelings of the employees. He doesn't care about the feelings of the team. This kind of manager, man or woman, is focused on profit, the results. Other ways to describe these kinds of managers, hard-nosed. That's a bit of slang. Hard-nosed, right? Your nose is hard. It just means tough. Hard-nosed means tough. Realistic and profit-minded. Realistic, I think you probably know. Profit-minded, again, means focused on profit. It's the same meaning as bottom line. So that's the first kind of manager that's very, very common in the world, right? I'm going to say there are actually three kinds. He's describing two, but I'm going to describe an extra one in a minute, which is an obvious kind, I think. Okay, next, the young man in his search found a second kind of managers. These he called nice managers. He met many nice managers. So, what were the nice managers like? The good point of the nice managers is the people seem to win. The team members, the employees would win. The nice manager focused on the team's feelings and happiness. So that's the good part. What's the bad part? Many times the organizations lost. The companies lost, right? The results were not great. So on one hand, the nice managers, the employees love them, right? Because they're very nice, they're so kind. That's great. The problem is they don't get good results. So many times the company doesn't like these managers. They don't get good results. Many times the employees start to get lazy and they don't work so hard, and they start getting lazier and lazier and lazier because the manager's too nice. And these kind of managers can often get fired because they're not getting good results. So again, the nice thing is the employees love these guys, right? I've had nice managers in the past and I love them. But they have the problem of that they're not sometimes not very organized. They're not tough enough. And again, there are some ways. How are they described in business? And like, what are the real words? Most people don't use the word nice in business. They're called participative managers, supportive managers, considerate managers, humanistic managers. These are 4 ways that these managers are described. So participative manager, participate, it comes from the word participate, right? To join. So what does that mean? It means these kind of nice managers, they want their team to join and help make decisions. You might call them democratic. Kind of they're the boss, but they want the team to join and help with the decisions. Supportive, they support their employees. They support their team. Considerate, they think about the team's feelings and happiness. Humanistic, right? They try to have good, warm, good human qualities. So, this is the problem. Manager, and then the next sentence here says, managers who were interested in results often seem to be labeled autocratic. Here's another word. While the ones interested in people were often labeled democratic. Autocratic means like a dictator, like one boss, like a king or something. And democratic, you probably know, like democracy. Everyone's voting. So what's the problem? It says the young man thought about these 2 types, but he felt that they were not effective. They were only partially effective. It's like being half a manager, he thought. Right? So the young man thought that the people and the organization should both profit, should both benefit. So, right, that's the perfect manager that this guy's looking for. The perfect manager gets great results for the company, right? So the team works hard, they get great results, very productive, very efficient, very motivated. And also the employees benefit. They're happy, they love their jobs, right? They feel they're part of a great team. They have high energy, good motivation. So this is the idea, not one or the other. That's only half. So not just the organization wins, not just the employees win, but both. So how do you combine both? That would be the perfect manager. Not just an autocrat, not just a dictator, not just democracy, because it's not democracy. Democracy doesn't really work long term. So it's something else. What is that? Right? What is that perfect manager that can do both? So this is where in the story he hears about there's this famous manager who is like the perfect manager, the great manager, and he's called the 1-minute manager. We're going to learn about that in this book. So he calls up the office of the 1-minute manager, and the manager answers his own phone, and he's surprised about that. He says, he tells him his story. I want to meet with you. And he says, okay, any time this week is fine. You pick the time. And it says the young man was puzzled. What kind of manager has this kind of time available? But he was fascinated and went to see him. So in the story, it's making the point that this perfect manager is not like overworked. He's not exhausted. Okay, he's got time. He's relaxed. So he gets great results. His people do great, but still at the same time, he's not like, he's not a workaholic, or she, right? He or she. In the book, the character's a he, but obviously there are a lot of women who are managers too. So doesn't matter. It's the same principles. Okay, so that's it for now. That's it for this introduction. I'm just going to introduce you to this idea, and then now the rest of the book in our next shows as we read, we'll do several chapters each time because the chapters are very short. It's very simple, but really good ideas. If you're a manager, or if you want to be a manager, you hope to get promoted and become a manager, this is a great book to read to get good, solid management skills. Yes, there are more advanced books, there are more advanced skills you can learn, of course, but this is a good fundamental. This will give you the basics of how to manage a team well. And the main point of what does it mean to be a good manager or a great manager, we got from this chapter already. You have to have both, right? You need to have some toughness. So you're organized, you're the boss, okay? Don't forget, you are the boss. As the manager, you're the boss. It's not a democracy. You're the boss. And you got to get great results for your organization, your company, whatever it is, your team. Might be a sports team. On the other hand, you want your players, your team, your employees to be happy, to be fulfilled, to love their job. You want to be a good person, right? This is also important. So you got to manage both of these. And I mentioned I was going to talk about a third kind of manager. He doesn't mention it in the book, but the third kind of manager is just the horribly bad manager. And they're kind of like horribly bad versions of both of these. I'm speaking from experience. I've had terrible bosses in my past. You probably have too, right? So there's like the bad dictator boss. The bad dictator is just a mean, terrible person. They don't get good results for the company, but they're just mean. And everybody's miserable on their team. They just like the power, right? So they're like a dictator, but they still get bad results, right? And then the other bad, terrible kind of manager is you could call them the wimp, okay? They're so super nice that they're not organized at all. So there's all kinds of chaos and politics and gossiping happening on their team. So again, their employees are not happy. So, but they think, oh, I'm just so nice, right? So that's kind of and that's what can happen if you really are a bad manager, if you don't know what you're doing. I think a lot of people, it depends on your personality. If you're kind of a laid back, relaxed person, kind of like me, there's a very good chance if you become a manager that it's very easy for you to become the nice manager, right? And maybe the too nice manager. And then you don't get any good results, and then everybody on your team starts fighting with each other, and you're not a strong enough leader, and everything can fall apart. Which is a terrible feeling when you're the boss when that happens. It's terrible. Or some other people have a strong personality and they want to be the boss, right? Be the dictator. And because they want to keep control. And this is where, again, you can start to become too much. And again, you get bad results. Everybody's unhappy, right? It's not that we're bad people. It's just that we don't have the experience and the skill. We don't really know what to do. So we can go between one of these or the other. I remember I was a dictator one time, my first teaching job. I was teaching kids in Korea, and I'd never taught before. I had no teaching skill. I never managed anybody before, and I had never been a teacher, never like a group of people. So first I started off too nice, and the kids went crazy, and they wouldn't listen. They were just running around. It was terrible. And, their parents wanted them to learn English. That's what they wanted, results. So then I went too far the other direction. I became a dictator, and I was really, super. You probably had teachers like this, right? I was kind of mean and tough, and it was too much. I didn't know what to do, though. I wasn't trying to be mean, but I look back and I realized I was mean. I was too tough. I was a terrible dictator. But I just didn't know what to do, right? And then eventually I had to find this third way, this kind of 1-minute manager way, where you're still strong, you're tough, you're a leader when you need to be, but you're also gentle and warm when necessary. And your team knows that you love them and you care about them, right? That's the great way to do it. Think of like a great mother or a great father, right? They're tough when they need to be, but they're also loving and kind most of the time. That's what you want. All right, let's get into our free, what did I say? Free comments. Our live comments. And questions. Let me adjust my, there we go. Okay. Lots of people saying, hello, please update your website. Oh, my website is updated, just updated it. We just did. What's up, Coach? Hi, I'm from Nicaragua. Say hello. Someone else saying hello from Turkey. I've been following you for many years. You are my number one. Thank you. Hello from Spain to the best teacher in the world. Thank you, T-Show. Is it effective for English non-natives to explain lessons? Wait. Is it effective for English non-native teachers to explain lessons in their native language? A little. So this, this is like, so he's saying like, for example, let's say a class in Mexico, and it's an English class in Mexico with a Mexican teacher. Is it okay for the Mexican teacher to use Spanish to explain English? Yes, but like one sentence, just like very quick, very short, maybe a quick little translation, but that's all. But it's dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because it's very, very easy to start talking more and more and more in Spanish, for example, and then your English class is actually half Spanish, right? I've seen so many examples of this. I've got a kind of very famous podcast about this where I saw this in Japan. I was an assistant teacher, and the Japanese teacher was teaching English, but the whole class was in Japanese. Like 95% of the class was in Japanese. 95% of the time, the teacher spoke in Japanese about English, right? Explaining about English, but it's all in Japanese. The kids can't learn, you can't learn English that way if they're just hearing Japanese the whole time, or if they're hearing Spanish the whole time. So it's better to do the opposite and avoid it completely. No translation. Or if you have the discipline, tiny little explanations in your own language. It's okay. It's just, you got to be careful because it's easy to start talking more and more and more because it is easy, right? It's easy to just talk in your own language. It's easier for the students to understand in your own language, in their native language. That's much easier for them to understand, but they're not getting English. That's the danger. That's why I think it's better to use methods like TPR, like physical actions and things, to use storytelling, maybe short little translations for the stories, but do not explain, grammar and all this stuff in your language. Again, unless it's very short and quick. Hello from Russia, says garlic is the, here, I'm going to move a little bit here, guys. Garlic is the profile. Nice to see you. Tengmei says, nice to see you here. I am learning your Power English and Business English courses. Power English is very powerful, but I cannot hang on with the Business English course. Well, it's okay. Power English is great. It's a very motivational course. That's why it's on the homepage. That's why it's the most popular course I have. That and VIP, they're both very motivational topics. Business English, for some people, business English, business in general is a less interesting topic than motivation, inspiration. So my guess is that's why, but keep doing it. Just keep going. Just take your time with the business English little by little, because if you need it for business, I'm telling you, what you learn in that business English course is gold. It's going to help your career so much. You're going to make a lot of extra money because of what you learn in that course. Not just because of the English, but what the skills I teach you in that course. So, highly recommend it. Just keep going with it. Noha says, free Palestine. Long time to see you. So proud to see you again, says Adi the Thai. Cameroon, Bangladesh, Ukraine, Belarus. Lots of countries here. Tamar Yalda says, it's nice to catch up live lessons because on the weekend here in Australia, I am from Iraq. I live in Australia. And I use either an American or a British accents. No problem. Thanks. Yeah, great. Exactly. With the so in Australia, but speaking with American or British accent, they understand American. They understand British accents. No problem. Okay. It's no problem. If you have a standard accent, or just a clear accent, you will be understood. I can go to England. Everyone understands me in England, okay? I can go to Australia. I have been to Australia, and I have been to England, in fact, and no problem. Everyone understood me, and I understood everybody else. The only problems are when you get to regional or less common accents. They can sometimes be difficult to understand, but they're difficult for everybody, including native speakers. So don't feel bad if you can't understand a strong Scottish accent, for example, because I also have trouble with it. Okay, well, this is an excellent question. I'm in high school, Izat says. After graduating, is it worth it to go to university or run my own business? Well, that totally depends on your goals and what you're wanting to do with your life. If you want to start a business, then just start your business. Don't waste your time at university. That's my advice. Do what you want, of course, but if you want to be an entrepreneur, if that's your goal to start some kind of business, especially if you know what you want to do, just do it. Don't wait. You'll waste 4 years in school. You will not learn how to be an entrepreneur, a business owner in university. You learn basically nothing useful at university for running your own business. Much better to spend that 4 years getting experience, starting and running a business. Even if the business fails, let's say you start a business and it fails after 4 years. That's way better training, much better training and experience than going to university for those same 4 years. So now, if you want to do something else, other things, if you want to be a certified engineer, if you want to go to medical school, there's certain professions, certain jobs where you do need a university degree. So in those cases, university is the better choice. So you just have to make these decisions intelligently. Just don't automatically think you must go to university. Like my parents' generation, in the United States, they thought just automatically university was always the best. I was kind of brainwashed with that idea. But, maybe it was correct when they were young, but it is not correct now. University is not automatically best. In some cases, it's still the thing you need to do. But in many cases, it's not, and it's just a waste of time. And certainly owning a business is one of those situations where university is a waste of time. Total waste of time. Chanal Patel says, I am Chanal Patel from Gujarat. Nice. I have been there. I have just completed your power course. I want to thank you. Please suggest what to do next. Janelle, great. You can join my VIP program. That's what I recommend next. Unless you have specific needs. If you specifically want to work on pronunciation, then get that course. If you want to work business English, great. But in general, I recommend VIP as the next step. Kolobok says, anchormen on TV should speak fluently. They generally do, I think. Oh, Sarah, good to see you. I had an English teacher. I didn't know that he wasn't a native speaker until I finished the course. Yeah, see, exactly. So, there are some non-native teachers who are excellent. Right? It's really more about the teaching methods. Of course, to be an English teacher, you need to have a very, very good level of English. I mean, that's why as a native speaker, it's quite, easy. Well, it's actually not. I wouldn't say it's easy because you need two things. To teach English, you need a high level of English. You need to be, speak like a native, be totally fluent. The second thing you need, though, is good teaching methods. And let's say maybe the third thing you need is good leadership skills, management skills, our topic today. Leadership management, inspiration, motivation. Because if the students aren't motivated, this is what I've learned as a teacher over the years, is the motivation is the most important one of those three. If you can motivate students and help keep them motivated, right? Be a good leader, be a good manager, then the students can get success, even with their independently, right? Is what I'm doing with you right now, right? But without the motivation, without that, then nothing happens because everybody just quits. So that's number one. But in my opinion, to be a great teacher of anything, you need the skill. You have to be able to do it. So can I speak English fluently? Of course I can. Right? It's my native language, so that's easy. You need the ability to teach, right? You have good teaching methods that work, that are effective. And you need experience doing them so you can do them well. And then third, you need leadership ability to motivate and inspire the students and keep them motivated. So those are the three, I think, master skills of teaching, in my opinion. Arun Fogo says, what are your kids doing? Have they joined a school or are they being homeschooled? I'm homeschooling. They're homeschooling in two languages, Japanese and English. Of course, I do the English part. And my wife does the Japanese. Oh, cool. Akko, good to see you. It says, I am working at the gym listening to you live. Nice. Tisha wants me to pronounce some words that are hard to hear the pronunciation. All right. Were versus where. You can watch my mouth. Were, where. I'm going to exaggerate, of course. Went, want. And for versus for is pronounced exactly the same. F-O-R and F-O-U-R have the exact same pronunciation. Amino with a nice comment. To be a successful business manager, it's important that you are able to communicate well and be understood by the people you work with. Yes, yeah, for management. So, I mentioned those three skills to be a great teacher, but each of those skills has other skills inside them, right? So to be a great manager or leader, you got to be able to communicate well. That starts with language. If you're doing this internationally, right? You have a team that's international, then English is probably the language you use. So that means you need good, strong English communication skills. And also just general communication skills, even in your own language, including nonverbal. And that's a lot of what we're going to learn in this book, The 1 Minute Manager, as we continue. Arun says, a leader, this is a quote from John Maxwell, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Nice. See, Mice says, what's the difference between the VIP and the business course? VIP is general English, right? So just general conversational English. A lot of topics are like Power English. There are a lot of motivational, inspirational topics, general leadership, that kind of thing. Business English, my business English course is very specifically focused on business and career. especially like managing your own career and making more money and getting promoted and doing very strong, powerful, effective job searches, all of these kind of things. Selin Paulette, and welcome as a supporter. Thank you for supporting the channel. Appreciate it. Nice. Dummy Pilot says, I want to say thank you. I started your basic course 7 years ago. So like the original course, I guess. And throughout the years, I was able to improve my English. I achieved my objective to become an airline pilot. Awesome. Yes. It's another industry that requires English, right? Air traffic control, right? The pilots, they got their radios, right? And they're talking to the people on the ground. That's in English, right? It's in English. I mean, it makes sense. They need one language because there's too many international pilots and airlines, and it would be too confusing for the pilot to try to learn all these languages. So they just do English. And obviously that is life or death, right? If there are mistakes, that could cause accidents, crashes, people could die. So, the English ability for pilots and air traffic controllers, very, very important. And even, for the flight attendant staff inside the plane, it's not as life or death, but you'll see on international flights that they will, depending where the flights are going, you usually have several flight attendants that speak English well. And they'll also speak the local languages of, like if it's Thai Airways, they'll speak Thai, right? If they're flying to Japan, they'll have someone on there that speaks Japanese or several, but they also speak English, right? So airlines, another one. Airport staff, similar. You're going to find lots of English. Okay, here's great. Mawash, I have a lot of I have a lot of doctors, a lot of nurses, and a lot of medical students. So Mawash says, I'm a medical student. I need to learn English for my faculty. Exactly. But I need your suggestion, the first step. Which course? I would suggest my Power English course. It's on my homepage, effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. That's the best one for you, for most people to start with. Start with that one, Power English course on my homepage. If you're not sure, get on the screen. If you're watching, you'll see, there's the 7 rules page. You can get my book for free if you want to just learn a little more first before you buy a course. That's fine. But I have so many medical students, and because again, doctors, medical, it's not surprising. Engineers, doctors, travel, flight attendants, pilots, all these different groups, managers, especially international business, need English. Scientists, professors. Oh, nice. Tamar Yalda says, when I started watching your lessons, I got the book Animal Farm. I used that technique of reading and watching videos. It worked to increase my ability to speak up with coworkers. Yeah, it's great. That's why I do these book clubs, to encourage you to read these books. Watch the videos. You're getting lots of listening in English, obviously, right now. I help you understand the general meaning of the book, of the chapter, and then you go read it. Use a dictionary when you need to, when you find words that are tough, and you're going to build your vocabulary. It's just it's a great way. It's a good combination. Adi the Thai, nice to see you. I recognize your name. It says, I have followed you for a long time, at least for 5 years, but I never knew what AJ stood for. Hoge must be your last name. J must be Junior. Good guess, but no. J is my middle name, J-A-Y. J. Tamar, thanks for the donation. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, a few more, then I'm going to go. Okay, Sahin Pollitt says, I am a university student right now, but in the future I will be an aircraft, electric, and electronic engineer. very technical. I hope so. I hope so with the support of your teacher. Thank you so much. Yes, exactly. So again, engineering. Again, I have so many doctors and nurses, so many engineers, so many managers. These are probably the big three, and also professors. Actually, those are the top four of my students: engineers, medical, professors, and managers, business managers. Which is why I'm doing these topics more, because I just recognize that's what a lot of people are. So good luck to you. Good luck to you. You can do it, and you will do it. Excellent. Only thing I need is English. No food, no water, says T-Show. Nice. It's funny you mentioned that. I am fasting right now. Right now I am fasting. So I'm actually very hungry right now. No food today. No food. Well, I ate yesterday, lunch yesterday, and then since then, no food. So 24 hours, no food right now. And I'll fast for another day at least. We'll see if I can go longer. I'm not sure. But I'm back to fasting again, finally. Amina, this is a very good question. Will you encourage your kids to get a job or to start their own business? So, of course, as adults, it's their choice, but I will encourage them to start their own business. I prefer them to be entrepreneurs, just because it's much better. The benefits are much, much better. Much more freedom, the ability to make much more money, potentially. More fulfilling. You get to choose the job you want, right? And choose how you do it, so you can do it, ethically. There's just so many benefits to it. It has challenges. So I'm going to teach them entrepreneur skills. I'll teach them business skills, and then it's their choice. But I'll teach them all the skills I can, so they have the ability to do it. I hope they'll do it. Leonardo Jose says, I saw your photo on Instagram. What happened to your eyes? I have a black eye. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, right? Is it this one? Yeah, this side. I got a black eye. I got a knee, somebody's knee, right in the bang, right here on the side of my eye yesterday. Sparring in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it's okay. I'm fine. It doesn't really hurt that much. It looks bad if you see it clearly. But it's actually okay. It's not painful. It was a little painful at the time, but I'm okay. I kept going. Oh, great. Kichu says, I joined your VIP program. Awesome. You're going to love it. In fact, we're going to do another, I'll be chatting with my VIP members very soon. We'll do another coaching call in a week or two. Mirzayevsky Dev says, I am Sirojidin. I'm one of your students, your YouTube students from Uzbekistan. Thank you for your aid to learn English. It's been working well. Awesome. And welcome to you. Oh, we have someone else from Uzbekistan. Dara Janov says, my name is Buberjan from Uzbekistan. I've been listening to your podcast 1 hour every day. Great. When will I speak fluently? I recommend doing shadowing. I recommend increase to 2 hours a day. If you can get a course, get a course. If not, then keep doing what you're doing and give yourself 6 months. 6 more months. Sergey Okunev says, this is a good time for live streaming. Good. So good time for, I'm guessing, kind of, what time is it in West? What time is it in Europe and like Middle Asia? Like Asia, actually, all of Asia, because I'm in East Asia, and it's a good time. Leonardo Jose says, big hugs from Brazil. Thanks, Leonardo. Teachers. Yeah, there are a lot of teachers. I have a lot of teachers and professors. So when I say professors, I mean teachers too, Karina. So those are the 4 big groups I have, and teachers is one of them. Oh, Vladislav, good to see you. Vladislav, always awesome to see you. Says, what do you teach your kids now? What do we teach now? Right now we're doing, so we're just doing reading and numbers, but for reading, we're doing this book. It's a really nice book. It's a collection. It's the complete tales of Beatrix Potter, which most of you will know. Peter Rabbit is the most famous story. It's the first story in this book, Peter Rabbit. But there's actually, I think, 23 of them she wrote. They're all about like animals, and they're actually, it's what's nice about them, and they've got pictures. That's why the kids like them, right? So they got these pictures, and they're really nice. All the characters are animals. And what's kind of nice is that the stories connect to each other. So the characters, the first book is Peter Rabbit, and Peter is the rabbit, the famous character. And there's a man in there chases him named Mr. McGregor, who's kind of like a mean guy. He tries to catch rabbits. And anyway, in later stories, in other stories, Mr. McGregor is in a lot of the stories, and Peter. He's in several of the stories again. Like there's one called Benjamin Bunny. He's in that story too. The Flopsy Bunnies. He's in that story a little bit. So it's like a whole world that she made, Beatrix Potter, with all these animals, and it's very nice. My kids love them. They love the pictures. They love the stories. The English level it's a bit advanced for them. They're 4 years old, so there's some of you all might find some of the words difficult. I actually had to look up one of the words myself for one of the stories. I'm like, what does that mean? I kind of thought I knew what it meant, but I had to make sure. So it's nice. So with the pictures, what I do is with the kids. So I'll read a paragraph, and there's usually one picture per paragraph. So I'll read the paragraph. Maybe it's kind of difficult for the kids. So then they'll look at the pictures, and then we'll talk about the pictures in simple English I know they understand. So we'll describe what's happening. They always asking me tons of questions. And then I might go back and explain a word or something to them. I don't try to explain everything because it can be too much. But just like you all, it's deep learning. Just like I tell you with my courses, you must listen to each lesson several times, many times, not just one time. Well, same with the kids. We read the same stories again and again and again. So each time we read it, they start to learn a little more. They understand a little more. They're learning more of the words. We've read the first story, Peter Rabbit, probably 20 times already. They love it. So we read that one. We've read that one so many times. So they've learned, they understand that one, I think, very well. There's one called the Flopsy Bunnies. We've read that one probably about 10 times. It's more difficult, the English. There's a word in there called soporific. I don't know, do any of you know what soporific means? Right? So my kids have now learned that word, soporific. Why have they learned the word soporific? It's in the story several times. And we've read the same story, the Flopsy Bunnies. We've read that story probably 10 times, maybe more than 10 times. At least 10. So they get the repetition. Each time we read it, I remind them the meaning of that word because it's a little difficult for them. So they're doing the same thing I tell you to do. That's why I tell you, you're learning like a native speaker. You're learning the same way my kids are learning English. And soporific means something that makes you feel sleepy, right? So in the story, the rabbits eat lettuce, and the story, it says that the lettuce has a soporific effect. So what does that mean? It means the lettuce makes them sleepy. That it says that it makes rabbits sleepy. I don't know if that's true, but in the story, it makes the rabbits sleepy. Okay, I'm going to take 2 more comments, then I'm taking the kids outside again. Surinder Bendani says, you're my favorite teacher, so I want to know from you which accent is the hardest in terms of speaking English. In terms of speaking? Well, there's not a hardest accent, it's just, the easiest accent is the one that you know, like for a native speaker, obviously for me, American's easy. Why? Because I'm American and I grew up in America. It's my natural accent. I can do a Southern American accent, right? Why? Because when I was a kid, I actually spoke with a Southern accent. I grew up in the South. And I lost that accent, but I still heard it so many times I can actually do it. You know, I can do a decent Southern accent, or at least there's several Southern accents, really, but I can do a basic one. But I cannot do a New York accent. Okay, even though I'm American, right? But the New York accent, I never lived in New York City. I didn't grow up there. I've heard it on TV, you know, of course, in movies many times, but I can't really do it well. If I do it, people would laugh at me from New York and say, well, you sound terrible, right? I can't even really do much of a British accent. So it's hard to do an accent that you don't know well, that you haven't heard a lot. It's very difficult. I can't do a Scottish accent. I can't do an Australian accent. Good day, mate, right? That's it. And that's not very good. So, you know, I don't know what any accent that you don't know well is kind of hard, right? So that's why it's quite good to focus on listening to one of them a lot, so it starts to feel natural to you, and then you'll naturally start to copy it. But you don't need to force yourself. If you just like listening to a lot of American audios, then let yourself develop a kind of American style of speaking. It's fine. People in England will still understand you. Australians will still understand you. Or, of course, if you prefer Australian, you love listening to lots of Australian audios, and you develop a bit of an Australian accent, that's totally fine. People in America still, we understand Australians. It's okay. English with Freeborn says, I don't know how to pronounce words with the letter R. How do I learn to pronounce words with R? Well, my pronunciation course, I have a whole unit about R and L. It is difficult for some people. Depends on your language. Water. So here are the words, the example words. Water, birthday, later, and where. Now, Americans, we have quite a hard R, right? We pronounce it strongly. Some other accents, English accents, some other places in the world like England, Australia, like Boston, even in the United States, they have soft R's. They don't pronounce that R very much. But the standard, typical American accent, this is one of the things that a lot of times makes the American accent sound different, is this hard R. So we don't say water, we say water. It's a strong sound. Tongue goes up. Water. Tongue goes up and back. Water. Birthday. Later. I'm exaggerating now, but you get the idea. Where. So for that American accent, that strong R is quite important. I think British is much softer. Sahin says, there are 2 or 3 part mini stories in your courses. How can I listen to mini story A? Should I listen to it 4 times? Then should I listen to B 4 times, or all of them? So if it's in one unit, so for example, if it's Day of the Dead, mini story A, Day of the Dead, mini story B, listen to both of those every day. If you can do them more than one time, awesome, do it. So, but I would recommend, don't just do A, and then A for several days, and then do B later. Do A and B both the same day, and then do that again the next day, the next day, the next day. Lisa, good to see you. Nice to see you again. Yes. It's coming right at the end, though. I'm almost done here, guys. Madhvi says, I've done the shadowing technique for 3 months. Should I do it or continue? Yeah, continue if you like it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. But, if you need to work on some other things, if you feel your listening is weaker, if you need vocabulary, you might focus on reading more. Sometimes we have to adjust depending on how things are going. Yeah, see, like Tamer Yalda with the Australian. How are you doing today, mate? That mate is classically Australian. You hear it in movies all the time, right? Good day, mate. How you doing, mate? Not something Americans usually say. Sounds Australian to us. Booberon says, I consider you the best teacher in the world. Thank you so much. Thank you. All love from Egypt, says Hassam Ahmed. Thank you. My life is my message, said Mahatma Gandhi. Indeed. That's a great book, by the way. His autobiography is very nice. Adi says, around the world. This phrase, around the world. World is a tough word for a lot of people. If you don't have R's and L's or strong R's and L's in your language or you're in your accent, then that's a hard one. World. The ul combination can be very tough. Japanese people, that's a very tough one for Japanese people. Earl, right? The word squirrel, for example. I always joke, but that's a very tough one for a lot of people. Squirrel, right? The squirrel went around the world. Sahin asked, do you recommend the movie Technique for beginners? Is it useful? It's useful if a teacher uses it in a class or with students and knows how to do it with beginners. You have to change the technique a bit with beginners, but it can be used with beginners, yes. Very well. But doing it yourself, it can be challenging, but if you have the patience, you can do it as an independent learner. Yeah. All right. Surrender's saying, how's your Spanish? Well, I haven't spoken Spanish in 8 years. None. So I imagine my Spanish speaking is not so good at the moment. My reading's still decent. It's interesting, but that's the easiest one. And I feel like I haven't lost much. Even 8 years of nothing. If I see Spanish in writing, I can usually figure out what it means pretty well. So the reading stays, listening. I'm sure my listening has slowed down quite a lot. But, the good thing is that because I learned it naturally with Unlimited Spanish with Oscar, I feel like I could kind of bring it back to life again fairly quickly. Probably take me about, I'd say 5 or 6 months. If I was going to go to Spain or something or travel, I could get back to where I was, I think, fairly quickly. But, when you don't use something for 8 years, it's going to get worse. And it's going to kind of go to sleep. That's going to happen. If you stop listening to English, stop speaking English, you do zero English for 8 years, your English is not going to be as good, right? That's just the way it works. That's any skill, of course, not just languages. All right, one more and I'm done. Okay. I want the American pronunciation course. Yep, I have one. Go to my website, effortlessenglishclub.com, and at the bottom there's a menu. It's got all my courses. Just go to the pronunciation course. I have one. Several people saying, I want American pronunciation course. I have American pronunciation course. Just go to Effortless English. I'm American. You're going to learn American English. Pronunciation. Okay, this is our last question. Sahin says, when I listen to your course, it's usually when I'm going to university. So when you ask questions, I answer in my mind, not out loud. Is this useful? Absolutely, yes. It's definitely useful. And yeah, of course, it's necessary. So if you're out in public around other people, right? I usually ask you to shout your answers, but some situations that's not possible. Obviously, if you're in a bus, you're on a train, you're walking, and there are lots of people around. You're not going to shout your answers, so you just answer silently in your mind. It's still very, very good, very, very effective. So yes, totally good. Keep doing it. Good job. All right, Juan Valdez, nice to see you, and thank you. All right, that's all. So we have started our new book. Today was the introduction for The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. We talked about out of the two types of common managers, both good and bad, the autocratic kind of dictator, and then the nice one who's too nice, right? And we want to find a different way. We need parts of both to be really good leaders. You need some toughness, right? You got to be the boss, you got to be in charge, but you also have to understand and help your people, your team, so that they're motivated and happy and fulfilled. Both of those are important. So how do we do both? That's going to be the topic for the rest of the book. How to do both of those things. Mwah! Lots of love to all of you. I will see you next time. Bye for now.